Have you ever knelt down, cried and cried out until your heart hurt, but still nothing happened? Have you ever felt like God went silent exactly when you needed Him the most? You're praying, seeking, trying everything, but that presence that once comforted you seems to have vanished without a trace. And now you're there, alone, fighting off the doubt that's growing inside your chest. Did God forget about you? Did you do something wrong? Or worse, did He give up on your life? I want to tell you something, with all sincerity. What you're feeling is not uncommon, and it doesn't mean God has abandoned you. In fact, this silence that hurts so much might be exactly what God is using to transform your life in ways you can't even imagine. You're not here by accident. God wants to speak something deep into your heart today, something that could completely change the way you understand pain, faith, and His presence in your life. There are days when your soul screams, but heaven feels mute. You bend your knees, open your mouth, and nothing. Just the sound of your own sobbing echoing in an empty room. The Bible is open. Worship songs are playing, but your heart still feels dry, like something disconnected inside. And no matter how hard you try, it feels like God doesn't hear you anymore. It's like walking blindfolded through a desert. You walk, you stumble, you get back up, but you see no direction. What once felt certain now feels like confusion. The faith that used to warm you now feels distant, cold, colorless, as if God walked out of the room and left you there trying to figure out what went wrong. Maybe no one sees how hard you've been fighting, because on the outside you smile, but inside, the weight is almost unbearable. And the most frustrating part is this: you're doing everything right. You're praying, going to church, trying to stay strong, but the emptiness is still there, staring back at you like a mirror that doesn't lie. You know what hurts even more? Remembering how it used to be. That time when you could feel God in every detail, in the prayers, in the songs, even in the wind on your face. It was like being wrapped in an invisible hug. But now everything feels cold, like something inside has died. And then doubt whispers, was it you who drifted away? Did God get tired of waiting for you? Your mind becomes a battlefield, and every thought feels like a bullet against your faith. And the more you try to understand, the more exhausted you become. Because the absence of an answer hurts more than any no. You look around and see people having deep experiences with God, beautiful testimonies, tears, miracles, sensations. And you wonder, why is it different for me? What did I do wrong? That kind of silent comparison eats away at your spirit, makes you feel less than, forgotten, less loved. But let me tell you a hard truth. Not every absence is rejection, and not every silence is punishment. Sometimes heaven is quiet because God is building something that only time and silence can support. But right now, all you can feel is the emptiness. And it's with that emptiness that you've been trying to live, work, take care of your family, serve at church, survive. Even if no one sees it, you're fighting an inner war every single day. And maybe today, you're tired, exhausted, wondering how much longer you'll have to endure this. That feeling of being spiritually dry, emotionally drained, and still pretending to be okay. Just want one thing, to feel again. To feel that God is still with you. Because living without that is like breathing without air. I know, that pain is real. But let me ask you something that maybe no one has ever told you. What if true faith doesn't depend on what you feel, but on continuing even when you feel nothing at all? What if, in the silence, God is teaching you to trust not in your emotions, but in His essence? Because faith that depends on feelings isn't faith, it's comfort. God is not playing with your heart. He's not ignoring you. He's not far away. But He's calling you to a deeper level, a place where His presence is no longer measured by goosebumps or by tears or by intense experiences. It's measured by your perseverance, by your decision to keep going even when everything tells you to give up. Maybe you're not at the end of the road. Maybe you're just at the beginning of a transformation. God is maturing you, and that hurts, because growing hurts. Silencing emotions, so you can hear the Spirit hurts. But it's in that silence that He reveals who you truly are and who He really is, unfiltered. Do you remember Hannah? That woman who wept bitterly for a child and seemed forgotten by God? 1 Samuel 1. She didn't feel anything, just pain, just waiting. But it was in that silence, in that lack of answers, that she prayed differently, deeply, in a way no one understood, except God, because God understands silent prayers. He hears the whispers of a weary heart. Habakkuk, who cried out, "How long, Lord, must I call for help and you do not listen?" Habakkuk 1:2. He felt ignored too. But in the next chapter, God answers. Because God's silence is not a denial, it's preparation. Elijah, after performing miracles, ran away afraid and asked to die. And it was there, in a cave, in the silence, that God showed up. But it wasn't in the fire, or in the earthquake, or in the strong wind. It was in a gentle whisper. Sometimes God hides in the quietest, most unexpected places. And we only find Him when we stop chasing the noise. You're not being forgotten. You're being shaped. And you know what that shows? That God is still there, even if you can't feel Him. Because if He had left, you wouldn't be here now. Something inside you still believes, still calls out, still holds on. That is faith, raw, pure, alive. And maybe, just maybe, this desert is the place where you'll finally discover that God's presence isn't measured by sensation, but by transformation. Now it's time to stop chasing a feeling and start living by the truth. Because the faith God is building in you isn't made of emotional highs. It's made of roots, of stability, of consistency. And that only grows in silence, only blooms in the desert, where everything seems still but underground. God is at work. So what should you do when you don't feel anything anymore? Keep going. That's it. Keep praying, even if your words feel empty. Keep reading, even if the verses don't hit like they used to. Keep seeking, even if it feels like no one's on the other side. Because that's faith, walking when your feet are tired, loving when your heart is cold, trusting when heaven is silent. Stop comparing yourself. Their journey is not your journey. God doesn't have to repeat Himself to be real. He doesn't have to do for you what He did for them. He wants to do something new, something unique, something deep. And many times, depth begins with the invisible. And there's one thing you can do right now. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, and simply say, "God, I'm here. Even without feeling, I'm still seeking you." That, just that, is already a powerful prayer, because it shows that you're choosing to believe beyond your pain. And that touches God's heart more than any intense emotion. You are loved, not because of what you feel, but because of who you are. You are seen, even when you feel invisible. You are cared for, even when everything feels out of control. And most importantly, you are carried in the arms of a Father who never ever leaves you, even when you can't hear His voice right now. So let this process fulfill its purpose. Because this season of no answers, this dry ground, this silence, all of it is taking you to a firmer place, where your faith no longer wavers with what you feel. It stays firm, even when everything around you says it's not worth it. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. And those who are prepared in silence carry something that no one can take away. A faith that doesn't depend on the wind. A peace that doesn't depend on sound. A trust that doesn't need proof. Maybe this video didn't make you feel something, but maybe it helped you remember something. That God is still God, even when you can't sense Him. That the faith you're building today, in this silence, in this desert, is a kind of faith the world doesn't understand, but heaven honors. So I ask you, what's more real? What you feel, or what God promised? Because the heart deceives, emotions shift, but the word remains, and God is still writing your story, even in the chapters where you think He's not there. You've made it this far, and that says a lot. It means that even in the middle of the pain, there's a flame still burning inside you. And that flame, big or small, is enough to reignite hope. Don't give up now. God is closer than you think. And this silence might just be the sound of heaven preparing something eternal. If this message spoke to your heart, leave a like so it can reach more people who are in this same desert. Comment below. Even without feeling, I still believe. And if you can, share it with someone who also needs to remember that God never walks away. He just teaches in silence.